my friends, I'm Rick, and you're welcome to History Revisited. We got little Missy sitting here back over my shoulder, and sorry it's been a minute since I posted a video. I've been really busy at work. Life gets in the way. When you're working 13, 14-hour days, sometimes it just isn't enough time to do a video. So I want to talk about Vimanas, and if I pronounce it wrong, my apologies. But we're talking about the mythological flying palaces or starship or ships from ancient history, specifically from the Hindu text and Sanskrit epics, right? And supposedly, I heard, I forget which video I was watching, they were talking about that supposedly one of these things were recovered in Afghanistan in the past X amount of years, in recent years. So, which got me wondering, okay, first off, what kind of person living in that era, in that epoch, would sit there and see all this stuff, these things, these vast things the size of palaces, flying around over their head, moving around up their head, flinging lightning bolts and massive thunderbolts at each other, i.e. weaponry. How would they describe that, other than the sheer terror and awe of that person? Now, I'm going to use personal example. Tuesday, I got caught on the end of a derecho. It happened in less than a minute. It was just about 60 seconds. It happened. It was over. I was driving home from a job I did in southern Iowa, and there's some ugly stuff ahead of me in the distance, and I didn't see the ugly stuff behind me. But the area I was in was partly cloudy. I was seeing some blue sky, the sun shining. Suddenly my phone goes off and says there's immediate tornado warning, immediate tornado or a tornado in your immediate area. I've never seen that before. So literally thought, holy crap, what does that mean? And in this process, all of a sudden a truck up the road coming at me, a semi, hits his brakes, pulls over, jumps out, lands and dives in the ditch. And I'm thinking, my truck, I'm still driving forward. Now, my truck is a smaller commercial truck, but it's a tanker truck we use to clean grease traps and stuff. And so I'd been down to a place called Tama and got a McDonald's. So I got 2,000 gallons of grease water in the back of this truck. So about 33,000, 34,000 pounds with the thing fully loaded. That's a lot of steel and hose and other crap on the back end of this thing. And all of a sudden, the truck starts rocking and bucking and bouncing. This whole wall of wind and rain just whooshed over me. And there's stuff flying past the truck. I heard something bounce off the back end. These construction signs, as they were doing road work just up the road from where I just come through a one lane, well, suddenly these barriers and signs and cones and stuff were flying everywhere. A couple of these big signs come ripping past the truck, and I suspect the one that passed on the left side banged off the back of the truck. Thank God I wasn't facing into this stuff, because that likely would have hit the windshield head on, and then we had a different day. So I'm still driving, and I come into a stop, and I pulled over, and I go into the ditch. It's full of water. I'm like, and the thing's already hit there. I'm not getting out of this damn truck. I grab my phone, and and the first thing I could get is Facebook. So I fire off this panic video for Facebook of I don't know what's going on. There's tornado supposedly here, blah blah, and tell my wife I love her and I have insurance. And then I lost signal, and then suddenly it's over. It's over. And we're back to partly cloudy with blue skies. It was unreal. It was a very surreal feeling. So if you put that into a perspective of somebody who's seeing some event that's beyond and I understood basics of everything that was going on, which is more said that could be more than any of these people could have said or no. So somebody had to seen these, or they concocted a complete science fiction story in an era where most people have no concept of what science fiction was or is. So a fantastic story, which is quite plausible. There's always the human imagination for that sort of thing. But you have to wonder, what these people who wrote these reports down, and those were been educated sages of their era, people who had the ability to write in Sanskrit and Hindu and other things of that. Well, not everybody, majority of people didn't have the ability to read or write. So these would have been, the intellectual of their age. So that also just makes me question some of the. So when this comment about they recovered one in Afghanistan, or discovered the remains of a Vimana supposedly in Afghanistan, brought me back to Bob Lazar's story about the 9 craft that he saw, or for supposed, purportedly seen at the Area 51 complex that he was at. Uh, the was it the S1s or the S2, whatever the hell it was. The Then he makes another even more innocuous sounding comment that when he was asked by some interviewers, and more than once he's been asked this, and the questions are always consistent. The thing about Bob Lazar, if he's lying, he's very good at lying. He's got the same story, and he believes this story. He believes the story. Whether you do or don't, it's on your shoulders. But that man believes himself. So he believes what he thinks he saw and what he thinks he experienced. And I believe the man believes what he believes. So he said that most of these alien craft, some supposedly recovered, but a couple of them came from an archaeological discovery. Somebody digging in the ruins somewhere found one or two of these things intact, buried by, whatever. Whether it was purposely buried by human or alien hands or was just buried by time, they still uncovered them. It got me wondering, what's the possible odds that one or two of those things that maybe the government that the U.S. government is sitting on actually predate to this epoch area? That they are the Vimana, the actual Vimanas, or the subcraft, because there were really big ones and really small ones. And it breaks it down to things like mythological flying palaces or chariots. So there was this implication that there were big ones and little ones, which would make sense. You have these big fighting warships or these big fighting craft that can fight each other, but that's your transport. Our aircraft carrier carries airplanes, so I mean for a reason. So could some of the flying disc reported to be in possession date back to ancient times? Well, we know from Bob Lazar's claim that they do. Could they be from this epoch? That's a question that I don't have an answer for. I don't know. And what are the odds, let alone many, that sages and scholars at that time envisioned letting them these things in detail? That's why I said, once again, what kind of imagination, how far in the past can we go before we can significantly say that there's no science fiction? These people read and painted and drew what they thought they saw. Now, the human mind is tricky. It can produce things that aren't there. There's a number of terms for that. We can see patterns in the words and patterns in pictures and patterns in the clouds, and our brain just kind of our imagination fills in the missing components. It's just like the creepy sound in the woods at night. You're in the dark in the woods, and something, all of a sudden all your senses are more attuned, and you hear and smell and feel things that you normally ignore. So it puts you on edge, which further heightens your paranoia a little bit, right? So I want to believe these things. I want to believe these things, and I have every belief in evidence. We have surmounting evidence that there are unidentifiable aerial phenomenon now, or UFOs, in most people's still vernacular, and the possibility that if that's real, then this sort of stuff could very well be real too. And especially if we look at the perspective of alien races living much longer lives than we do, or existing for much further period of time, or that their concept of time is different from ours. So, they spend so much time in transit in a non-linear bubble of some sort that time is suspended for them, while it is not for us. So the same aliens could be bouncing in and out of here over thousands of years, and while thousands of generations of humans have lived, died, and whatever. Yeah, one of those great mysteries that we may never see in our lifetime see an answer to. But more and more of what we hear and what they say and what they discover lends credence to this sort of thing. It really does. I'm a big fan of Stitchen's material, but it just was opened the door for a lifetime of reading and viewing as much information as I can on this sort of product as often as I can. I grant you, I don't have the luxury of buying every obscure novel that comes out. Billy Carson's got a number of books, or he's got a couple books out I would love to have, I can't afford to buy them. And so unless I show up at a discount bookstore somewhere and I just happen to have some cash at the time, I'm not going to likely get an opportunity to do that. I have been trying to research or do a little bit of Google searching so I could see if I could get a free online version of his stuff, but maybe not. It's just like some of his video that he do. I I understand a lot of where he's coming from, and I'll understand a lot of why he's thinking the way he is. You know, I don't agree with all of it, but that's just my personal thing, right? I would love to hear more of it. I would love to talk that bad, but I would not know even how to approach any of it, not come off sound like a dunce moron that I am. Anyway, hope you guys have yourself a great Memorial Weekend. It is Memorial Weekend this weekend. It is Sunday before. It's actually late in the evening, which is rare for me. My wife has been generous to me, so I've got a couple of videos today. Hope to do another video for this channel for tomorrow, so I have another one. I'm going to post this one later this evening, and then have another one for 5 days out. I've got some ideas, but sometimes if I don't do a little bit more the grunt work, it's one of the recent videos I posted was pretty crappy in my mind. I just was stumbling all over it. I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't have any cues to go off of except my crappy memory. So it's like this sort of stuff. I sat out some late jobs while I'm working, and I got waiting for the truck to fill its tank up. I'm listening to podcasts and looking stuff up on Google and then making notes for it. And I miss being able to do live videos via YouTube for my channel, and I would be able to do more videos for the channel if I could do them that way. The problem is my cell phone is old and crap, and it's one of them, 4th generation burner phones, so it doesn't have enough power. It's a 4 point something, and you need a 5 point something in order for YouTube to work. I can do Facebook, but I can't do YouTube from my phone. And then my phone's memory cache is so tiny. The videos I would do I would not be able to do them. If you go back some of my really old videos where I was in my truck, whole trip back and from Ottumwa, a 2-hour drive, I could have been and had in the past done live videos while whatever my topic was at the time, just going on and on and on about it. Helps keep me awake, right? It's like this Tuesday, I have a job in Mason City, Iowa. It's about a 2.5-hour drive up. About an hour drive up there, and then about a 2.5-hour drive back, and then trying to keep from falling asleep on that trip back is brutal. I get outside of Ames, Iowa, and I'm just doing this and I'm doing it. I'm trying to find something to engage my brain to keep from wanting to doze off while I'm driving. That's a natural real danger. It's a long job with a lot of hours, with a nice fat paycheck for the boss. So it's right at the edge of our capacity to be honest, both the capacity for the truck and the distance. If we've had breakdowns going up there before, and it just costs a lot more to have a truck dealt with because you're way out of town. Most of my jobs were trying to keep within an hour or so of the city, and that's still pretty far out. One of the things we do is that what sets us apart from our competitors here in the greater Des Moines area is that we do range out further than they do, in part because those are towns that, like the hotel that I do in Mesa City, nobody up there will do it. It's too big for the local guy. He won't do it, and he would have to bring it down here to dump it, and then the cost is still about as much for them as it would be for us to go up and get it and bring it back. And so he just won't do it. Now there's bigger international or state or bigger interstate companies that will do this sort of stuff, and I don't know why they didn't tap one of them, to be honest. But when they get the call, my boss says no, or he won't say no to that sort of thing. So it is what it is. Vimana, are they ancient UFOs and not some fantastical fictional imagination thing from an era of people who really had no context other than birds to utilize that as? And if so, why are the original stories, once they're translated, so technical in basis? Why they're very specific, as opposed to saying, we saw a bunch of really weird looking birds up there, crapping at each other. Give us some thought, man. What do you think about it? Like, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Do something with this channel or not. I don't care. We can literally have years to go before I'd even hit 1,000 subscribers, let alone ever generate enough video turnover for any kind of monetization of the damn channel. It's just for fun and for an outlet for me to rant and rave occasionally about things in the political world and the real world that just irritate the hell out of me. Sometimes I share stories of things that I dealt with or in the past and stuff like that, which are on the channel. Like some of the weird shit I seen when I was a convenience store clerk. It's just this, that, and the other thing. Little Missy back here. I'm me. You're you. Have a great Memorial weekend. Just take a moment, and embrace your family and friends, and consider that that might be the last moment for them, for you. You just never know what's coming up behind you. It's going to slam you in the back.